Good evening and welcome, All That Matters listeners. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to connect with me today here on our weekly talk show. As a gentle reminder, our IGMA Inc. brand concept for each broadcast is to interview and discuss all that matters topics with our special guests who are invited and committed to sharing great insight, resources, answers, tips, and sometimes strategies to help empower individuals and organizations seeking to sustain themselves, especially during times of uncertainties. Namely, because we maintain the topics discussed on our talk show really matter to our radio listeners. So, on that note, today we are striving to keep our rich conversation going to empower our listeners with information regarding our justice system and awareness regarding the law. So, without any further ado, I am honored to hang out with my very special guest and longtime mentee dating back to his elementary days, none other than Charlie Johnson, aka Pharaoh Future Johnson, an author and unfortunately a resident of our American prison system, who has agreed to help me, help you, and your children from becoming the next resident of our overpopulated prison system. So, Charlie, or however you prefer to be referred to, how are you doing today?
I'm doing magnificent. I'm doing very great. How was your day?
Oh, I have been sitting on pins looking forward to this great opportunity because I honestly believe it's going to be the difference in somebody's child's life, if not a young adult. So, on that note, I know you, and unfortunately, our listeners don't know you as well. So, why don't you take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, my name is Charlie Johnson. I was born inside of Savannah, Georgia. 1991, August 1st, 1991, I was born inside of Savannah, Georgia. And I stayed there for like ages probably 1 to 7. Then I moved to Jacksonville, Florida. And from there, I lived there from age 7 to 14. I became incarcerated at the age of 14. I got charged with home invasion and attempted murder. But prior to then, between the ages of 1 to 14, some very controversial things happened in my life, and some things people will look at and say, "Oh, I can't believe that happened to him." But the whole gist of this going forward is to make sure how we can take those negative moments and convert it to something positive, and that's what we aim to do, and that's the gist of this interview. So from ages 1 to 6, I mean, at 3 months old, let's just start off there. At 3 months old, my mother had some type of severe issue, mental issue, to where she was going to toss me from out of a window. Some say toss me out of a window, some say stab me while I was in the baby crib or whatever. And as I was laying there, as a child, not knowing what was going on, before the knife can come down on me or before I can be tossed out of this window, someone knocked on the door, and my mother was distracted, so she went to open the door like, "Oh, who are you?" Like, oh, and the lady addressed her. She said, "My name is Melody Robinson, and God sent me to come get this baby." And from there, I was raised with her in Savannah, Georgia, from 1 to 7, with so much love and so much compassion and so much goodwill. And she taught me so many positive things, and it was embedded in me to go forward and be a positive, productive person, a productive member of society, to be a great person all in all. And my life changed when I moved away from her at age 7. I moved to Duval County to live with my mother, the person who, initiated me living with her to begin with. And then my life took so many different turns, and yeah, that's the gist of my time in Savannah, Georgia. Now, when I get to Jacksonville, Florida, I actually meet, which is amazing. It's amazing that this is actually happening right now. You'll be surprised what happened if you just stay strong and just persevere. When I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, one of the first people I met was the person who's interviewing me right now. It's amazing. Say no, God is real. And I came into a very abusive household as a child, extremely abusive. I recall one time, bathing in my own blood at like 7 years old for getting my head bust open because my big brother gave a Game Boy, which was a gift to me from one of my parents to another child, and then my mother found out about it, and I had got my head bust open. I remember experiencing that vividly, and it's one of the strongest things that traumas that I have in my life in terms of my own experience. And so many times I had to be forced to be kicked outside of the house and sleep homeless and be homeless at 7, 8, 9 years old. And One time I recall being put out of the house naked and, not having no clothes on at all, and people driving by laughing at me, pointing fingers at me. But in the midst of going through all these things, it was only one positive component in my life at that time in Jacksonville, Florida, and that was Dr. A. I will run across her from time to time, whether it be at the elementary school or whether it be at in the neighborhood or whatever, and she would grab me and she would pray on me and tell me that I would be somebody. And I didn't understand what she was talking about, and sometimes it even made me feel uncomfortable because I did not know what she was talking about. And because the only thing I was experiencing was trauma every day. Every day was different kinds of trauma. Whether it was abandonment or whether it's being beat up or whether it was getting pushed to the side, whatever it was different kind of traumas I was experiencing every day. And it was the only positive element, and it stayed with me. And then it came to the point to where, when she moved away, I was like in the 5th grade. So that positive element was gone. Then I moved to another neighborhood in Jacksonville off 3rd Ave, off Lim Turner. And from there, I started, living a different kind of lifestyle where I put my happiness and I gained my happiness from hurting other people because, hurt people hurt people. And that's a lot of the things that we're experiencing right now is other people being hurt, and, they lashing out, and they lashing out in different ways. Some people call it crime, but this really is a mental state that, our kids get stuck in, and I was once stuck in, that, it'll change the course of your path in life after dealing with so many different traumas and, hurt people. So from there you proceed, and that's what you do. You try to hurt people to develop a reputation amongst other hurt people. And it's just a rim of hurt people hurting other people and hoping to get some type of gain from it. Because, at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all looking for a positive gain in whatever it is that we're doing. Some people, they act a fool because they are rewarded to do so. People are rewarded for being foolish amongst some people, or a whole bunch of gang of other people who are foolish. And it's all types of people out there. And sometimes we get caught up in these different realms of thinking, and it controls us. And it controlled me, and that led to me, coming here, being incarcerated. I'm the youngest person to be incarcerated in the state of Florida continuously, from 14 years old in 2 months to right now I'll be 30 years old in 30 days, August the 1st. And I'm still going, and I'm still striving to, make better for myself and everybody else around me. And I hope, this interview does that, serves that purpose.
Well, I tell you what, I have to stop for just a moment and tell you again how proud I am of you. You could have wasted away the last, 15 plus years? With a birthday coming up, August 1st, allow me to be one of the first to say happy birthday early. Despite your situation, your circumstances, I'm proud to say that I have this opportunity to interview you and allow people to hear not my version of what's been going on, but you still sound positive. And I want to go ahead.
Yes, and one of the, I have to maintain that, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but the goal in everyday life, is you're gonna have problems because only the people who don't have them, the people that are not here no more, they don't have earthly problems. They might have some type of other problems though. But us here on Earth, we're gonna have problems every night. It's a sign of being alive. So it's what you do with those problems is what's gonna dictate, whether you're gonna have a positive outcome or a negative outcome. So I'm mindful of that.
You are so right. And so often people who listen in, maybe they've got it all together, but I will assure you, keep on living. Life can happen. Today you're up, tomorrow you could be down or within the same day. But I do want to commend you before we take a quick break. I know that you've got a book coming out, or that's actually out, and I just want you to give people the name of the book. So hopefully during the break, they can try and go over to Amazon and at least get the name of that book, because when we come right back after the break, I want you to share the main reasons why you found yourself serving time, and what advice do you have to help keep other young people out of the prison system. So before we take a quick break, tell us the name of your book, because we're going to talk about it a little bit shortly.
Oh, well, the name of my book is The Power to Overcome Anything, and it's available on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick station break, and we're going to be right back. We hope you will enjoy the sounds being played and selected by none other than our CFO, Miss Belinda Perkins Carrington. So bear with us for just a moment, and we will be right back. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for taking that quick station break with us. As I mentioned before the break, I want you, Charlie, and Charlie, if you prefer that I call you Pharaoh, just tell me. I'll comply. But if you will, share the main reasons why you feel you found yourself serving time. I know you briefly talked about it, but point them out. What are the main, maybe 3 to 5 reasons?
Well, I prefer to be called Pharaoh Future today. That's of course that's an alias, but my real name is Charlie Johnson. The main reason why I found myself serving time is I was out of touch with reality. I recognize now then, in the rearview mirror that I was out of touch with reality, especially in the sense of not knowing the context of what minorities exist in America. And especially not understanding the unlimited funding that the law enforcement agency has and the incentives, personal as well as public incentive, and keeping minorities incarcerated and the mass propaganda that's behind it, and so many other things in the context of my history and everything. So it's like, with any creature, dealing with any creature, if let's say a lion for some reason or another could document its history and study it and know their history, and then they'll be able to prevent you from hunting them or making jackets out of them or whatever the situation may be, because they could be able to devise a scheme to prevent that from happening. They'll get together with the other lions and they'll devise a scheme to prevent them from becoming extinct, like they're near extinction right now. So that's the same thing what's going on with many black men and black people, period, especially other minorities. Probably not as worse off as it is with blacks, but with other minorities as well. We're not realizing the contents of which we live in, and it's a contingency agreement that we're not even assured what the agreement is. We're not even looking at the paperwork. And so, once I began to study and find out what the paperwork was, that's when I began to look at the system as a whole completely different. Now, I'm not blindsided to it. So one of the main reasons was I becoming a prison was I started engaging in this lower realm of thinking, which goes from hurt people, which I discussed kind of a little bit earlier. And what that system does is, with a group of other hurt people, which is a lot of people in our communities are very hurt. They're very hurt. They're very they feel very indifferent to the circumstances that they're in. Whether it's going to food stamp lines, they are going to these different public schools that's teaching you to look at yourself at the beginning of time as a slave. At the beginning of your history was you are a slave in America. That's what you came over as. You have no history prior to that. You have no concrete history prior to that. So it's like the remaking of yourself. And this is called social engineering. It's done right there in the public schools. And then we have the social engineering going on right in our neighborhood that tells us that if I hurt such and such, and if I do something to such and such, and if I hang with such and such, this makes me a better person. This makes me a profound person. This makes me a person of higher stature than the next person. Physically harm somebody for no reason, skip school, do drugs, all these different things. These are different social engineering projects that's injected inside of our communities that I once engaged in. And I was so good at engaging in it that I was very reputable at a very early age. It's really nobody from my side of town don't know who I am, don't know who Little Charlie is, or Doogie, my street name. For the foolishness that I was into, and how I wound up getting incarcerated was I was hanging with some other people who was older than me. And they was foolish and did so many more things out there before I did or had a chance to do, because some may call it fortunate. I got locked up. Some people say it was very unfortunate. And, I was hanging with these older guys, and then there's one guy in the midst of what was going on, I won't get into too many details, put a gun to my head and told me that if I didn't kill another person, he would kill me. And so to save that person's life and my life, I shot the person in the arm. And from there, they sentenced me like I killed them. They gave me 25 years mandatory for doing it, and gave the other guy 35 years for making me do it. And this is a form of, this has nothing to do with the crime, the amount of time that they gave out, because obviously, if the gun was put to my head, it was done under the rest, but the system will take advantage of you if you're ignorant. So to reverse that ignorance that I had, in hindsight, looking back at it today, I'm a certified private investigator from Stratford Career Institute and a certified paralegal from Blackstone Career Institute, which is the highest, institutes that will give us these type of classes. So what caught me up in the process was, of course, I was caught up in a realm of ignorance, and I did a lot of ignorant things that I was proud of at one point in time, because I was rewarded for it amongst my little circle. But as a whole, when you look at it, what's wrong, and it's foolish and it's dumb, and you look at those things completely different now. as you get older. You know, the things that's cool when you 13 should be cool when you're 31. You know, the things that you do when you were 13. So, you know, that's the process which I had to go through. And in the process of doing so, I taught so many other people a way out, you know, of that realm of thinking. And I started teaching it probably when I was like 14 years old. And it's been ongoing ever since then.
You know, I just, first of all, let me back up. Congratulations on those 2 certificates or degrees. What were they in? Certified private?
Private investigator, certified paralegal.
Wow. And this is why I believe, unfortunately, this happened, but yet you've made the best of it. I'm not saying it should have happened. No, I'm not going to ever say that. I've always believed in you and I continue to believe in you. But I'm proud to know that you've done something positive with your sit down time, for lack of a better phrase. So now, my question to you is, what advice would you give to, say, a young person or a parent with young teens that could possibly end up where you are? What advice would you share with them?
If I had to narrow it down to a sentence, I'd say the power to overcome anything. I will refer them to my book, The Power to Overcome Anything, because in it gives you so many different layouts there's so many different layouts of how the scheme look when it's fit to attack you, and then it gives you so many layouts of how to overcome it. I read once in a book called Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince, where he said a prince must learn from a lion and a fox, and because the lion is defenseless against traps, as the fox is defenseless against wolves. But one must be like a fox to see a trap and a lion to fight off the wolves. So that's exactly what that is. But if I had to, you know, give it to you outside of just referring to my book, I would say above all is the intersection. It's the intersection that we cross in life. You know, between the ages of 12 and 16, we come across this intersection in life. And when we're between those intersections in that time, we make a decision of what type of person we want to be. I see a lot of my friends that did it at this time, and I realize that it's still going on right now. And we decide what kind of thinking we're going to accept as being true. And a huge part of the acceptance of this is like we're not knowing that we're accepting a contract that's automatically going to doom us. It's going to doom us to prison. It's going to doom us to drug dealing. It's going to doom us to mass murders. It's going to doom us to our own genocide. That's what it's going to doom us to. But, you know, between those ages, we make this agreement at this intersection. But at this intersection, there's many other turns you can make too. You can turn right. And at that turn, you can go on and do positive things. You can become a positive member of society. You can uplift others. You can build people up. You can do what we're doing right now, you know, in this interview, what we hope to spread around this world. You can do great things. You can go forward and just, you know, just do you. You can go move out in the middle of nowhere and just, you know, live off the land. However, which way you decide to do is the intersection you cross in life, and you accept things to be true. What I will hope to do with this interview is some child somewhere out there somewhere, he hears this and he's at that intersection and he say, you know what, I'm not going to turn that way, I'm going to turn this way. You know, so even if his blinker's already showing that he's going left, he switch right. And it's just the right timing for the traffic and everything for him to make it right on by and continue his life and escape this place that's designed to entrap him in.
You know what? You're so right. I've got to take another quick break. And each time I want you to remind people how to get your book. I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face because I think this book is going to help propel a lot of our youth beyond that 12 to 16-year-old intersection of life. So again, the name of the book is?
The name of the book is The Power to Overcome Anything. It's available on Amazon right now. Pharaoh Future Johnson.
All right. Well, we're going to take another quick station break, and we are going to be right back, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to talk about this book. We're going to peel back the skin of the banana, if you will. And I'd like for you to share with us some of the best chapters that you feel are most meaningful, because it is 31 chapters. So, ladies and gentlemen, while we take a quick break, head over to Amazon and try and get your first fresh copy. So on that note, we'll be right back. Well, you are just really, really filling our ears here today, Mr. Johnson. And so on that note, I can't stop the pressure. I'm going to ask you, talk to us about your book. What motivated you? What was the purpose behind it? And what are your favorite chapters of the fact that you've got 31, might I add to the audience? Talk to us.
Oh, well, about the book, I mean, the book is so inspiring. It's so fulfilling for the mind of the youth, for a person who's at that intersection in life. It's right there. It gives it stops her right there in its tracks. It freezes them in that moment, and it makes them make the right turn instead of the left turn. The best decision instead of the worst decision. You know, that's what the book provides. It inspires and it provides hope and motivation, and it drive people right to the direction that they want to go in life. And it's why it's called The Power to Overcome Anything. Inside of the book, I get into my childhood, of course, but I give it to you from a review mirror perspective. From a perspective to where I draw the line between my childhood and your childhood and everybody else's childhood. And I have so many stark comparisons to different cultures and different things and different items that we cherished in society at one point in time that faded away now, and we put so much value in things, and to the point that we're willing to kill and die about these simple, basic things that won't mean nothing to us tomorrow. Because some of the things that meant to me so much of value then, like what people cared on some levels, or to have this pair of shoe or that kind of jacket, meant so much to me then don't mean nothing to me now. So, you know, it shows you how we misdirect our energy, and what we give value to is so incorrect. And once we give value to those right things in our life, everything goes right in our life because we put value to the right things. And it's all about, you know, taking that time to evaluate what you're valuing, you know what I'm saying, as something that's so cherishable that you're willing to lay your life down for it. You know, you got to question yourself. You willing to give your time to it? You know, you got to question yourself. And then you got to make the best decision from there. You know, and that's the intersection. And that's what most of our kids go through between the ages of 12 and 16. And parents sometimes still suffer after those points, you know, young adults. So what the book is about, per se, is linking my life to your life. And after I satisfy the linking process of my life to your life, you know, I show you where is the missing link in between that. You know, I actually have a newspaper that came out today that I founded at this institution called Liberty's Missing Link, and it's being distributed tomorrow at this institution in color. I hope to provide to Dr. A the interview at some point in time, and hopefully we can have another interview another time about that. But as of right now, what I want, you know, to touch on is to let you know that, you know, what the book provides is an awesome, incredible way to channel your energy, you know, whether it be negative or positive, especially if it's negative, to something positive. If it's positive, to something more powerful, something more impactful. And the change starts where you stand. You know, it doesn't start from when you're in a more cushioned position or predicament to where you're more comfortable. No, it starts exactly where you stand. And, you know, Dr. A inspired me as a child, right where she stood, and right where I stood. And I inspire children, you know, today, and I inspire people today. You know, I hold classes. I've been teaching for the last over 10 years. I've been teaching different classes, different self-help classes across the state of Florida in the prison system. And so, you know, this is a testament to all of those things in the process of transitioning from one mind frame to the next. And that's the power to overcome anything, the transition from that one mind frame to the next. And I give you such a deep, battered way in which I had to, you know, endure in hopes to prevent you and your children from having to endure the same process.
Wow. I'm just going to put it out there. My favorite chapter is chapter 5, and you may recall, A Beacon of Hope.
Yes, ma'am.
You got to tell us a little bit about that. I'm being biased now because when I opened the book, ladies and gentlemen, I was in tears. I didn't expect the book to be anyways about me, but when I learned that there was a chapter dedicated, how can others become a beacon of hope for other people?
Well, to touch on the chapter itself per se, we'll have to, you know, briefly, you know what I'm saying, you know, elaborate on how you touched me as a child. You know, me, you know, at times sleeping in abandoned houses and sometimes just crossing your path in the middle of nowhere, whether you was driving down the street in the car, or you see me coming from school or walking from school, or you thought I was walking from school and I was walking from somewhere else, you know, and you stopped me and you were in your tracks and would come over me and pray over me. I thought it was the craziest thing in the world. At that time, I I thought, like, what is this lady doing? You know, I thought that at that time, but some of the things you said have helped me make it through the darkest moments of my life from then to now. So, I mean, that's just what you mean by, you know, inspiring people and starting when you stand, because you never know what kind of impact you may have on someone. So how others can become a beacon of hope is they do the same thing to our children today who need it. And they probably, the seed may not grow right then and there at that time, but over time, you know, it's seasonal. You know, everything has this season. You know, this is the beginning of a season. You know, and it's other seasons. So you plant it in its season. We don't know what season like God do, you know, but in this season, it will grow. You know, and that's how you become a beacon of hope right in your society, right where you stand, right where you're at. You know, don't wait for tomorrow to do it today. I'm not waiting till tomorrow to make me a newspaper. Some people say, you know, you can make a newspaper, you should wait till you get out. No, I want to do it today. I do it today. And the first people I start off with is the incarcerated. I have a copy of Liberty's Missing Link tomorrow, and every quad, every office station, law library, the front of the prison, all over the prison, so people can grab something that's inspiring from somebody, one of their peers, somebody who looks just like them, act just like them, understand them, you know? And it don't start from nowhere else besides from where you stand, where you're driving, where you're going. You know, where you stand at, start from right there.
Well, I applaud you on your upcoming release of Liberty Mission. What is it? Liberty Missing Link?
Missing Link.
Awesome. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I just have to put a plug in. You have to get a copy of his book. The power to overcome anything. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know we're going to pick up this rich conversation, but you just got to take the time to make sure that you pick up your personal copy of The Power to Overcome Anything by Pharaoh Future Johnson. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get ready to take a quick break. And again, you can pick up your copy on Amazon. I encourage you. I'm purchasing copies as well. And we're going to be right back. So hold your seats. Get your pen, because I'm going to ask Mr. Pharaoh to wrap this up and put a bow on it when he comes back to me. So hang tight, and in the meantime, we will be right back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the final stretch. I so apologize that we're going to have to start wrapping this rich conversation up. Once again, if you just joined us, I want you to know that we are talking to none other than my guest, and his name is, and he'll tell you,
Pharaoh Future.
And Mr. Pharaoh Future, tell us where you're located as we're doing this interview. Don't be shy about it.
I'm at Liberty CI.
Liberty CI. And for those of you that don't know, that's not a place where he desires to be, but he's taken time out of his busy day to hopefully make sure you and your loved ones don't follow in his footsteps to get there. We talked about, by the way, the chapters of the book. I want to just pick up before we let you take this home for us. 31 chapters. Why 31? Is there significance to the 31 chapters?
Yes. So the book was actually designed in a way to make sure to maintain the reader's attention. And so one of the that was the desire. One of my desires as I wrote it. And so to make sure I could maintain the reader's attention, I made the chapter shorter. I made each chapter tell its own story, so you can have so many, like a huge variety of colors that shows the color vortex or the color complex of things, so you can pick from which tree you want to eat from. You know, and each chapter tells its own story. So, I mean, the chapter, you know, the one above all that touches me the most will probably be hurt people, because that's the seed, that's that seed that's planted that makes us make these decisions that we feel are so cool and so good for us when it actually amounts to complete destitute in the future. And, you know, that's all it amounts to.
Wow. I was wondering, but thank you for letting me know, because I'm thinking, what does 31 mean? I'm just so moved by the way you wrote the book, to know that we go as far back as elementary school. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope, if you heard nothing else, when we first met, it wasn't the most pleasant place, but we were at elementary school. My daughter and I had moved here to Jacksonville from Atlanta. It was a blessing in disguise. Unfortunately, my father passed away, but through it all, I made it my business to empower and impact young people. And Charlie, I'm living proof that your change of life and attitude and just your whole being to make a better person, it was worth it. I'd do it all over again. I don't want to have you where you are, but if it meant you turning out to be the awesome young man that you are, I'd do it again. But in order to make this conversation start to come to an end, I've got to ask you, tell our audience, we've been talking now for almost an hour, and my question to you is simple. What is it that you want our listeners to take from our rich conversation today? Can you put a bow on it?
Yes, I can. First, I want you to own yourself. And the reason why my name is Pharaoh Future today versus so many names I went through in the process, from Lil Charlie, Doobie, Jay Gutter to just Future to Pharaoh Future, is saying I'm going to be the king of my future. It was a point in time in my life where I had nothing to live for. I felt so in that present time, in that present day. You're 14 years old, you got 25 years. In that present day, at that time, what do you have to live for? You feel like it's nothing to live for. Well, at that point, the only thing you have to live for is the future. And as I went to study and expanding my horizon, I've changed my name from, Jay Gutter, which is the name I had, to Future, to Pharaoh Future, when I decided that I was going to be the king of that. That's the one thing that I was going to have the most say-so in, and that was going to be my future. So I went to building myself up today, and every single day, for that day to come, waiting on that time to come, waiting on my season outside of, being incarcerated. But one of the things I want, people to get is that this place is not mass incarceration. Thanks human trafficking. What these people are doing, this has nothing to do with the crime. But people are in prison for, on average, every black man, 1 out of 3 black men are incarcerated, and 3 out of 17 whites are incarcerated at the same rate, even though whites commit more crimes than blacks commit. And America is the only country in the world, amongst all other supposed civilized countries in Western society, that incarcerate people at this rate. So this is a tragedy, what's going on, and it's made to appear to look normal. It made to appear as if you have justice, make it appear as if they have some type of means, some positive means to put people away for this long, but it's never a reason to put somebody away for life, for breaking in somebody's house, or for a simple burglary. Nobody get hurt, but that's what happens every day. And people are put together, and I don't want you to be a part of this number. And that's really one of the main reasons why I wrote this book, to make sure you don't be a part of this number. This is state-sanctioned human trafficking. The state is okay with it. Each state has its own system, but nothing is out of wild, like Florida, Texas, and California. And I just happen to be in Florida and Liberty CI. And if you want to get in contact with me, my name is Charlie Johnson. You can hit me on the JPay app or FLGOC, Charlie D. Johnson of Florida. You can follow me on Instagram on the Pharaoh Future, which is an Instagram page that was recently made today by my little sister, who's going to, carry the page forward for me and engage in all my interactions.
I appreciate you for being so transparent, Charlie, Mr. Pharaoh Future. I like the name. I understand the name now. Now, from the listener's perspective, perhaps somebody listening under the sound of my voice here today says, what can we do to help you prepare to reconnect with society? Because if I'm not mistaken, you don't have much longer.
No, I actually don't have much longer. I'm pending in court right now for a sentencing review. I'm pending in court right now for a sentencing review, where it's supposed to reevaluate my sentence based off newly discovered evidence, which I have 3 co-defendants in my case, and all 3 co-defendants have recanted. All 3 co-defendants all say that a gun was put to my head to get me to commit this crime to begin with, and so the crime should be, I shouldn't be held accountable. The people shouldn't be held accountable for this. One person should be, and it should be the person who forced me to do this, in the face of death. So I have that going on right now. I have 2 psychiatrists that cooperate with those 3 co-defendants, and that's pending in court right now in Duval County Courthouse. And aside from that, I actually have a release date. It's like 6.5 years out at my earliest. It'll be 6.5 years out, which is a long time, but compared to the time behind me, it's not that long compared to the time behind me, because I've been incarcerated now 16 years. In a few months, it'll be 16 years. From age 14, and next month, 30.
Well, I'm going to think positive. You know, I have two sides of the coin that I play on because my son was murdered while away at college. But I don't want to make every conversation about this. I understand good things happen to bad people and bad things can happen to good people. And I'd like to believe that this was a situation, as your book speaks about, it was hard to overcome when it was happening, but you figured out a way to reconnect. And I just want to know, what is it that we can do as we await these 6.5 years and hopefully sooner, when you will be streamlined back into our society that awaits you, because I believe you will continue to empower others. So what can we do for you?
Well, right now, the best thing can be done for me is for people to somehow get in contact with somebody in the district attorney's office or somewhere else in Duval County within the court system, and get them to pay closer attention to my case and recognize that it was something wrong done, and in order for this wrong to be right, this person right here needs to be released. And and that's the situation I'm in right now. So that's the absolute best thing that can be done for me, is for somebody to intercede on my behalf the way I'm trying to intercede on these children's behalf, and save me from this place the way I will save these people. Because just like I have a chapter in my book called Hurt People, I also have another chapter called Save People, Save People. And I need a same person to help save me from this situation in terms of going forward. In between that time, best thing to do is just try to maintain some form of contact with me through Instagram or through the JPay app. My name is Charlie D. Johnson. On J-Way, I'm a Florida at Liberty Ciazo right now. Or, hit me through Instagram. My name is Pharaoh Future on Instagram. Or support, some other matters that I may, have the opportunity to present. Like right now, I run two big companies right now, that I run. My wife is running them. My wife's name is Robin Johnson. I'll have her run those companies. I'm proceeding as best way I can for the situation that I'm in. And I do need as much help as I can to be able to transcend this situation and make it to higher levels and elevate more people to do so in the process and afterwards, especially afterwards, which will be after my release. So just establish a line of contact with me and let's stay in contact. And in between that time, I want to become the face of state-facing human trafficking reform, or whatever kind of reform that they call it, mass incarceration now, which I feel that era is over with. We're into the era of state-sanctioned human trafficking, where as if it's cool long as the private companies can make more money off of public citizens that's incarcerated.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it straight from Pharaoh Future Johnson. And I want to encourage you to purchase a copy, your own personal copy. If not for you, purchase it and give it to another young person. The Power to Overcome Anything. I have read it. I continue to read it. I keep it with me so that I can encourage other people. But if you had one thing to say before we bring this rich conversation to a close this evening, what might it be?
So many things I can say right now. So many things running through my mind right now. But I would say, make your sincerity your best credential. Make your sincerity above anything else in life. Make your sincerity your best credential. Be sincere about what you seek out to do. Be sincere about what you seek out to accomplish it. Don't pray about it. See it. See it. Vision it and see it. And as you see it, move forward every day to make that thing happen. Whether you just take an incremental step or you take a huge step, a 100-yard dash in that direction. Just stay true to yourself and stick to things that's tested to be true. Stick to things that's tested to be true, and people that's tested to be true. And network as strong as you can to make things happen. Never give up on yourself. Never give in.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Mr. Pharaoh Future Johnson, a.k.a. I knew him when he was just Charlie Johnson. I'm so proud of you. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank you again for hanging out with me today. I hope you will each continue to join me and bring friends every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for more informative episodes of All That Matters Talk Show. Please remember to visit our website at igmainc.org. Once again, it stands for I Give Myself Away, Inc.org, to learn more about our nonprofit offerings. Feel free to email topics that matter to you, or simply call us at 770-422-4048.